super healthy, super med.
Montego Bay, we've been tested, but we are still standing. After Hurricane Melissa, our community is rising stronger than ever. The Kiwanis Club of Providence, Montego Bay Breast Cancer Awareness Run, Walk and Wheelchair has a new date. Sunday, January 18, 2026 at Fairview Office Park. Registration is now reopened and all previous registrations remain valid. Baby Whip pickup is upstairs at Fresh Supermarket, Harbor City Mall. Thursday to Saturday, 2 to 6 p.m. Then join us on Sunday, January 18th. Together, we rise as we support the fighters, admire the survivors, and honor the taken. Visit KiwanisProvidenceMBJ.com.
Good evening and welcome to Lead Story. Tonight, a country at several breaking points. From a public hospital where doctors and nurses say conditions have deteriorated so severely that patient dignity and safety are at risk, to families still searching for answers as the cases of missing children quietly go cold. We also examine a growing paradox among young people: less sex, yet rising STI rates, and what that tells us about social pressure, health education, and disconnection. And as Earthquake Awareness Week comes to a close, we ask a hard question: are we actually prepared or just briefly aware? This is Lead Story. We begin in Western Jamaica, where doctors and nurses at the Cornwall Regional Hospital have taken the extraordinary step of protesting conditions inside the Accident and Emergency Department. They're describing them as unsafe and dehumanizing for both patients and staff. Cornwall Regional Hospital is the main tertiary care facility for Western Jamaica and has faced years of delays and challenges in its restoration. Joining us now are the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, and the President of Nurses Association of Jamaica, Dawn Marie Richards. Good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story. Let's start off first with Minister Tufton. This is not a pay dispute or an industrial action over benefits. This is about conditions of care. Minister, what's your assessment of what's happening inside the A&D at Cornwall Regional Hospital tonight? Dr. Tufton? All right, we're connected with the minister, but we're resolving the issues that he may be having right now. Let me turn to the president of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, Dawn Marie Richards. What exactly happened today that caused staff to say, we can no longer do this in silence?
The conditions continue to deteriorate with no end in sight. And as the situations on the outside get worse, it will affect the situations on the inside. An A&E facility that was retrofitted to facilitate 35-40 patients is housing over 100 patients for a little while now. And it is really cause for concern.
35 to 40 and now housing 100 is an extraordinary jump. How long has this been going on, and what have the doctors and nurses been attempting to get the attention of both the oversight facilities there at the Cornwall Regional, but also the Ministry of Health and Wellness to remedy this situation?
Based on feedback from the facility, I have been informed that the situation has been elevated to the necessary areas. So it is a matter of persons waiting and waiting and waiting to see what is going to happen, being promised that this will happen or that will happen, and the things that are promised are not taking place. One of the comments that was made today was that since the situation would have exacerbated since the passing of Melissa, and one of the comments that was made today was that there isn't even a band-aid situation where an area is patched to take some of the load out of the A&E. Because as the term says, A&E speaks to accidents and emergency. How can you address an accident situation or an emergency situation in a space that is so overcrowded? It is just not possible.
This is then a serious situation with consequences for healthcare. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, are you with us now? All right, we're still adjusting the line as we continue to speak with Dawn Marie Richards, President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica. You're having this back and forth, but Hurricane Melissa devastating the western end of the island certainly would have made this worse. Today, doctors and nurses came out now putting themselves on the line, saying that patient care could not have this be the standard anymore. But for the nurses, they also talked about situations like rats and rodents and having to resuscitate people on the floor inside the hospitals. What does it do for them as they are now reduced to providing health care under these circumstances?
That in itself, as you would just have described, is tantamount to inhumane. When you have to tend to a patient in a chair or on a stretcher that is on the floor, and this person is right beside somebody else, you don't have any space to do your work. There's no privacy, and that is really not fair to the clients. There is no privacy in these settings, and we must maintain patient dignity. We must maintain the dignity of staff members. It cannot be right. It cannot be right. There is no space to facilitate privacy in a setting like that. None whatsoever.
It seems then heartrending to hear not only that the nurses and doctors and other healthcare providers there at the Cornwall Regional Hospital are sharing these experiences, but that they had to protest about it today. We have with us now Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton. Dr. Tufton, this is not a pay situation about benefits, but one about conditions of care at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. Now, we're hearing this report. What is your assessment of what's been happening and what has been told to you, Minister Tufton? Still, unfortunately, we're having audio problems there with Minister Tufton. We heard him, we tested him earlier. We're still making sure that we can hear from the Minister, because this is certainly an accountability and governance issue, one that had been in broader strokes raised by the Auditor General's report earlier this week. And now we have Minister Tufton on with us to have this conversation as well about what's going on. Minister Tufton, are you with us now?
Good evening.
Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton. This is not a pay dispute or an industrial action over benefits, but about conditions of care. What is your assessment, Minister, of what is happening inside the A&E at Cornwall Regional Hospital tonight?
Well, the issue at Cornwall Regional is linked to the impact of Hurricane Melissa. The damage to the building, the main building housing the ward spaces, is under active repair. There are 4 wards, I think, that have been impacted, and the contractors are on site doing the work. What is happening is that extraordinary circumstance combined with the active flu season has created a demand on the hospital services, which sees patients in A&E as a sort of holding area because of the ward space limitations. We anticipate, based on the contractor's estimate, there was a meeting yesterday with some of the staff also, that you'll see starting the end of next week additional ward space being added, and then from there, over the next 3 weeks, we should get back up into full operation. In terms of ward space, we're also expecting to have a 100-bed dome facility, which is now being shipped to Jamaica, that will be established on the compound of the facility, that will add additional bed capacity and will remain there until the new building is completed. So it's a temporary challenge, but a challenge nevertheless. We understand the circumstances and the challenges of the staff, the doctors and nurses. I've asked the team to try as best as they can to make the environment as comfortable as possible, but we do anticipate that it will get better over the next week or two. And then from there, with the 100-ward facility, it will get even better from there. But repairs are taking place. The contractors are there, as they are at the other hospital sites. And it's not an issue alone at Cornwall.
Not just an issue at Cornwall Regional Hospital. Other hospitals have to deal with it as well, but at Cornwall Regional Hospital is a particular set of circumstances. Cornwall Regional, are you hearing me, Minister? Cornwall Regional Hospital is the hospital that has been under construction for years. Minister Tufton? Again, we're going to resolve that issue with him. Minister Tufton? All right, we seem to be having challenges connecting with Minister Tufton, Dr. Christopher Tufton there, because we spoke with the president of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, Dawn Marie Richards, and a few moments ago she said, well, it was bad before Hurricane Melissa. Hurricane Melissa just made it worse. And so clearly we're looking at a situation where we need to find out from the minister why these sorts of things had not been put in place, not only before Hurricane Melissa, but even closer in time since the passage of hurricane in October. But we not only had Jamaicans who were impacted by what took place there at the Cornwall Regional Hospital today and the long wait times, overcrowding and stress on nursing and doctor staff there and medical staff at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, but one Caribbean tourist of Ascension who had to go to the Cornwall Regional Hospital explained from his vantage point what hospital conditions on the ground looked like. Let's take a listen.
I don't care what anybody wants to say. Sit down on chair from yesterday. Right? And they still want me to stay back. I gotta sign myself out. I can't live like that. I'm a human being and not a dog. Because you cannot have a person sit down in a chair all night and say you're checking them. It's gonna be worse. What can you do for a person sitting in a chair and they don't get comfortable?
So you have signed yourself out and you're leaving now, right?
I'm leaving now. I don't care what anybody wants to say. Sit down on chair from yesterday.
And so we're watching this situation here. Dawn Marie Richards, are you still with us? All right, we're going to take a quick break here inside Lead Story and come back on this, continuing to find out what's going on inside Jamaica as we now find out that the Cornwall Regional Hospital had protest action take place today as nurses and doctors complained of what they have characterized broadly as inhumane conditions for medical care at that facility. Stay with us inside Lead Story.
I love waking up every day in this country. This is where I was born and raised. I have such a passion for my country, and for me this is home. In Jamaica, a lot of people, they look at just like beach, sea, sand, but our mountains are something to behold. It's majestic up there, and it's a different type of peace. It's a different type of lifestyle completely. I could mention many different places that are amazing, but the one thing I do love about Jamaica as well is that you can find that relaxation, you can find that chill in your backyard. Apart from it being an incredibly beautiful country, an incredibly beautiful island, we have a wonderful, wonderful culture, wonderful, vibrant, colorful people. There is definitely a realness to Jamaica. There's definitely something that no matter what keeps you in touch with reality here. Why come to Jamaica? It all comes back down to Jamaica as a whole. You know, the food, the music, the culture, the people, the climate. Come out and meet us. Come out and experience what Jamaica has to offer.
Tune in to Lead Story, weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jodi-Ann Quarry.
Brought to you by VC's Electrical Sales. Quality products at affordable prices.
Go buy your Miracle Fire Rub for all arthritis, pain, swelling, poor circulation, numbness, inflammation, cold and flu, stroke, stiffness, sprains, strain, boils, insects, bites, and menstrual discomforts. Miracle Fire Rub, available at King Street Pharmacy, 72.5 King Street, downtown Kingston, Case Pharmacy, Duhaney Park Plaza, Kingston and Fontana Pharmacies nationwide, and March Pharmacy, downtown Kingston. Miracle Fire Rub. Rub it on, the pain is gone, gone, gone.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The Time by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Thanks so much for staying with us inside Lead Story. I'm Jodi-Ann Quarry, and we're continuing our discussion about the situation at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, speaking with Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, and the President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, Dawn Marie Richards. Minister Tufton, we had been told by Dawn Marie Richards, Minister Tufton? Aye. Mr. Tufton has moved during the break, not allowing us to hear him. Mr. Tufton, can you hear us clearly? All right.
Hello.
Minister Tufton, unfortunately, this is not going to work for us this evening. Dawn Marie Richards, having now heard Minister Tufton's response, especially given the context that you have told us, that this is something that happened before Hurricane Melissa, but it only became worse after Hurricane Melissa. What do you say to people in Western Jamaica now, seeing the concerns raised by doctors and nurses and now nervous about getting health care at the Cornwall Regional Hospital?
What I would want to say to the general public, that the nurses have your interests at heart, and it's not, as you would have said initially, Jodi-Ann, it is not about negotiations or anything like that. It is about the conditions that we have to care for clients in, and it is the conditions under which we have to work. Those are our concerns at this time. If we are not in an environment that is conducive to provide good care for our clients, it's going to be hard for us to care. And one of the complaints as nurses, we get, I get a lot of complaints about the conditions at Cornwall Regional. And I can say to you, Jodi, all the time the nurses are being blamed for things that they have no control over. Can 7 nurses care for 110 patients adequately on a shift? No, it's not possible. It is not possible, especially when you put other factors in place. Lack of resources, lack of basic resources. One of the comments that was made today from the group that was protesting, 1 blood pressure machine to 50 patients.
So
that can't be right.
That lack of basic resources concern highlighted today is so serious that we clearly are going to need more conversations about what nurses need as they do their work. But clarify for us, there had also been reports that nurses and doctors had been complaining that they were working among the dead, with there not being enough resources to remove patients who had died, and so nurses were now carrying out healthcare services among dead bodies. Is that something that you can verify for us?
I cannot verify that, but I've heard that comment. And I can just picturing a situation that is painted in relation to the overcrowding, I would not say it is impossible, but I cannot verify that. That I have heard. By the way, it was not said to me by any of my members.
All right, that clarification then is helpful, Dawn Marie Richards, as we trust you and your members, especially you in your capacity as president of the Nurses Association of Jamaica. Thank you so much for talking to us about what happened there at Corner Regional Hospital, and please do keep us up to date as to what takes place now that the nurses have made their voices heard, to see if there is any resolution, speedy resolution to this, given that Minister Tufton said in about the next 3 weeks you should be seeing some improvement, but this is something that it doesn't seem your nurses can last 3 more weeks dealing with. Dawn Marie Richards, thanks so much for joining us.
But we got that reassurance and we continue to wait.
And we certainly look forward to seeing then what happens and following up on that. Thanks so much for joining us this evening inside Lead Story.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. This is certainly something that we are going to keep watching here inside Lead Story, but we're also following up on something that happened last year that into 2026 we now want to find out what's going on next. Last year, the disappearance of a little boy, Jodi-Ann Smith, captured national attention. Search parties were mobilized, communities held their breaths, and tonight we look at where the case stands now and at a broader, uncomfortable question. What happens when a missing child case slips from the headlines? CVM has compiled a review looking at how the Jodi-Ann Smith case has been handled. Let's take a listen to Carlin Brown.
This picture was posted on every media platform where information is disseminated electronically or otherwise in the second half of 2025.
I'm standing here in 2F at the Manchester High School. Had Jodi-Ann Smith still been around, this would have been his classroom. Jodi-Ann was only 1 month into the start of the school term back in September, coming from his primary school when he disappeared. The question is still being asked, where is Jodi-Ann?
It has been a question on my mind for the past couple of months. A promising young man with a bright future, and the only thing I can say, God is still in control. We miss him dearly.
It's a matter that has not died with the year past, and this school family has only positive expectations for the missing teen.
Lord, wherever he is and whatever happened, justice will come out, and it's been so long. I don't know what to tell my students these days. I don't know what to tell any relative that comes by. And so it's just always like an open wound.
Principal Jasford Gabriel is finally hitting back at those who have placed him on the receiving end of open rebuke.
I've been very silent on the matter. About, a lot has been said in social media about the involvement of the principal. I just want to dispel every rumor and everything that has been said. They are all false in relation to my involvement with the case.
He says the criticism is misplaced and out of focus, fanning the wrong flame.
Here am I. Social media also said I was locked up, I was out of the country, could not return. These are things that were told to me because persons who have productive things to do don't really have a lot of time to be following much of what social media is saying, but the bigger issue is, we are hopeful that Jodi-Ann will return to us, and as a school, we remain committed to supporting whatever legitimate efforts are being made.
He's now warning the social media community.
I think I need to respond and do whatever is necessary to try and clear my name in the matter. And with God's grace, we just want Jodi-Ann back, or to get some kind of closure to this matter, because it is still weighing heavily on the school community.
They say Jodi-Ann was a flower in this garden, but now they're all saying, I am sorry. Sorry because Jodi-Ann is not here at school. This is Carlin Brown reporting for CVM News.
This picture was posted.
And so this is a story about Jodi-Ann Smith from Manchester. So to find out about what has taken place in this case, we have Superintendent Carey Duncan, Commanding Officer for the Manchester Division. Good evening, Superintendent Carey Duncan, and thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
I'll put my silent.
This is certainly something that the nation had been watching last year. We had search parties, we had a lot of national angst around this, but Jodi-Ann Smith has still not come home. What's the state of the investigation at this time? Superintendent Duncan? All right, Superintendent Carey Duncan has joined us as they travel to do their work. Both Minister Tufton and Superintendent Duncan are experiencing phone challenges with us, but we also have been tracking this story inside CVM, and with us we have on set Akeem Oret, one of our reporters here at CVM Television. Akeem, this is something that CVM has been tracking for some time. Talk to us about when you started tracking this and what it is that you're seeing now.
Well, Jody, since Jodi-Ann has gone missing from September 26, 2025, we have been tracking this story bit by bit, and the big question we all want to know, where is Jodi-Ann? And one of the reports that I did, one of his uncle, it has been said on social media that his uncle is involved with the missing of Jodi-Ann Smith, and he's clearing his name. The family doesn't know where Jodi-Ann is, and so the public, we too, want to know where he is.
This is also a very emotional story for the nation. Persons really felt for this young man just starting school, unable now to go back to Manchester High, and the school community indicating that they were missing him. Talk to us about the national response and reaction you saw to this case as well.
Well, in my last story that I did just before Hurricane Melissa, persons, they were protesting, wanting to know where Jodi-Ann is. And Hurricane Melissa was coming. The public was concerned, where could Jodi-Ann be during Hurricane Melissa? And so the public they are outraged, they are concerned, and they want to know, where is Jodi-Ann Smith? It is a very delicate and emotional situation here.
Clearly very delicate, clearly very emotional, but you also spoke about family members getting pulled into finding where he is. The principal of Manchester High saying he was pulled into that as well. Have each of these stakeholders been able to get the kind of comfort and support that they need, you feel, after the missing boy, Jodi-Ann Smith, is not yet returned home, but there's all this swirling accusation around who could be responsible for his disappearance?
And you know, his mom is experiencing, or is saying, she wants Jodi-Ann rather to come home too. And finding these stakeholders finding comfort, I don't think so.
The case of a missing child in this case means that family members cannot rest. They haven't seen their child. They don't know what's going on. You've had a hurricane. You've now had the start of a brand new year.
Where could he be?
And that is a big question for many Jamaicans. Did you also come across any other feelings that persons might have had around this case? Because this case, of many other cases of missing children, seemed to have captured national attention. Why do you believe that was the case?
Yeah, it is a 12-year-old boy. He is missing. Under what circumstances? And there are all types of accusations out there, Jody. But we don't know how far those speculations they go. The police, they are on the case. We want to know from them too. The public wants to know the information. Yes?
And let me see if we can get Superintendent Carey Duncan inside the show with us. Superintendent Duncan, are you on with us?
I am here. Good evening.
Thank you so very much for joining us. What's the status of the Jodi-Ann Smith case now that the nation, as Akeem Art has said, wants to know about, and any updates you might have?
Right, the status of Jodi-Ann Smith case remains open, and that active investigation is still taking place around it. We have had several leads explored. Unfortunately, we are nowhere closer to finding him. However, the effort all the efforts are still being pursued to locate Jodi-Ann Smith.
This is so important for the nation to find out. Superintendent Kerry Duncan, unfortunately, we weren't able to have more conversation with you on this. Anything else you want to say to the nation, if anybody might have information?
All right, I'll just say to you that as I said before, that all the effort have been placed into locating Jodi-Ann Smith. And I'll say that in my 30-plus years as a police officer, I have never seen a missing person report get this level of attention. As a matter of fact, our own Commissioner of Police ventured down into Manchester to meet with the principal of Manchester High School and other stakeholders. That's the importance of this place on this investigation. Even though we in Manchester are leading on the investigation, it has been coordinated at the highest level from our CIB headquarters with our top detectives in our CIB. So for people to think that we are not giving this the attention, we certainly are. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you how serious we take this thing. Persons have even called in to say to us that they have had dreams of where Jodi-Ann Smith is. And even those dreams we have explored, just to make sure that we cover all the bases, dot the I's and cross the T's. So I just want to say to the nation now at this point that we are still open, the investigations are still open, and we are respectfully asking that anybody at all who have any information that they believe can help us to locate Jodi-Ann Smith is welcome. We are looking forward to that.
And I think that's going to be a powerful thing for...
50, and I'll be bold enough to give my personal cell phone number, 830-4278. I welcome any information as it relates to Jodi-Ann.
Superintendent Kerry Duncan, commanding officer in Manchester, thank you so very much for talking to us inside Lead Story.
Hello.
So that was it. We're taking a break inside Lead Story and coming back now to what has taken place. We have Akeem Art on set with us as well. Thank you, Akeem, for talking to us about what has taken place inside that case. We'll come back now to a conversation about what is going on with our young people next inside Lead Story.
Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Montego Bay, we've been tested, but we are still standing. After Hurricane Melissa, our community is rising stronger than ever. The Kiwanis Club of Providence, Montego Bay Breast Cancer Awareness Run, Walk and Wheelchair has a new date. Sunday, January 18, 2026 at Fairview Office Park. Registration is now reopened and all previous registrations remain valid. Baby Whip Pickup is upstairs at Fresh Supermarket, Harbor City Mall. Thursday to Saturday, 2 to 6 p.m. Then join us on Sunday, January 18th. Together, we rise as we support the fighters, admire the survivors, and honor the taken. Visit KiwanisProvidenceMBJ.com. Thanks so much for staying with us inside Lead Story. I'm Jodi-Ann Quarry.
A moment ago, you just heard from Superintendent Carey Duncan talking about the work that had been done by the Manchester Police and how high up the police chain it has gone in order to locate 12-year-old boy from Manchester, Jaden Smith. If you or anyone you know has information about Jaden Smith, you can call Superintendent Carey Duncan at 876-830-6193. That's 876-830-6193. All right, let's move on now to perhaps more scintillating topics, but no less serious. Something called the sex recession paradox. There is less sex, but rising STIs. This is madness. Reports from the Gleaner are now sharing that young people in Jamaica are having less sex than previous generations, part of a global trend that researchers are now calling a sex recession. At the same time, though, data reported by the Jamaica Observer shows that STI cases, sexually transmitted infection cases, continue to rise, with the highest rates being recorded among the very young adults we said are not having sex. So, how do we explain this contradiction? Less sex, but more infections. And what does it tell us about risk, education, and how young people are actually navigating intimacy? According to data from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, 35,713 cases of sexually transmitted infections were seen in the public health system in 2024. This is compared to a little less than 1,000, 34,278 the previous year. The adults aged 20 to 24 were most affected by common infections like gonorrhea, chlamydia, and trichomosis. Now, to help us figure out what exactly is going on, we're joined by Professor of Gender, Sexuality, and Psychology, Professor Karen Carpenter. Professor Carpenter, thanks so much for joining us. Help us make sense of what appears on the surface to be a paradox. The kids are having less sex, but they're also getting more STIs.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Let's change that word. Kids are not having sex.
Oh,
yes.
All right, let's clarify that part first then. Professor Carpenter said they're not having sex.
Yeah, no, the average age of what we call initiation, the first sex, in Jamaica has been steadily at about 15 years. So across the board, across a band of years, we find that by the age of 15, many or most Jamaican youth begin to have sex, and adolescents are not children. Adolescents are in a different stage from a child of 7, 8, etc. We're seeing a greater number of reported, and we have to add some words there, some qualifiers, Jodi. So we're seeing a higher rate of reported infections. And that can also be compared with whether or not we're seeing a higher volume of people coming in to get tested. Yes? So without that baseline, that tells us, are we seeing a huge increase in people coming in to get tested as opposed to other years? We won't know if we have a true increase or an increase in reported cases. Yes? So whenever we talk about statistics, we have to use some very guarded language because statistics don't tell the whole story. They tell a story about a particular thing. Youth and moving away from sex as a form of intimacy, because there are different types of intimacy, and sex is not intimacy. When we speak about sex, we usually mean intercourse. I think we have greater exposure to the numbers of ways that we can be sexually active, both online and offline. And you may find that we're having much more passive or remote sexual encounters than IRL in real life.
Look at Professor Carpenter with chat speak referencing IRL, but this is important. So we're then putting in context. It's not children that we're speaking of, not children of tender years. We're speaking of young people. And in the statistics that we have, we're even thinking a little higher than 15-year-olds. From 20 to 24 is when a lot of the reporting that we are looking at is happening. And it's saying it's part of a global trend of persons not, in fact, having IRL in real life sex. So we went on the streets, Professor Carpenter, and asked the people, especially young people, but also some middle-aged people, if they agree that there's a sex recession. Let's take a listen.
Agree. Young people do have sex. They have it a lot.
Oh, you know.
They do have it a lot. If you give them a chance to the home house, they do it for the whole day. I tell you that.
I disagree. Because in this day and age, everybody wants a woman, everybody wants sex. Sex is what? It's like a in thing then basically. Not really a in thing, but it's a part of de-stressing. If you not have sex, you not release in the mind, release your brain. So sex is happening every day with young people.
I agree. Why? Because we have to pay the money right now. You know, sex not going away. And when people go, you have to have the money before you have the kids, you know?
Them dating more than first time. Through social media and other thing, but sex now, maybe them are cyber sex or anything. Maybe them not physically sex.
To be honest, I agree. You know?
Why?
I agree. Because back in school, some pitney and do some things and they ain't supposed to do. Trust and believe me, man. Oh God, man.
Me young and me love thumb. Me love have sex. Me young and me love thumb.
Hey girls, I wanna know you. I got something to show you. Right now I'm standing before you. I'm gonna use my condom and control you. I want you to feel my loving and emotion. Water roll like in the ocean. Make it to a higher dimension. Love of the vibe and the sensation. Use a condom for sex protection. But the disease take over your land. Just use it in a fashion. Kinda with a different plan. Hey girls, I wanna know you. I got something to show you. I'm gonna use my condom and control you. Come in on, this is catch me and you.
I disagree. Young people.
So we have there not only a vox pop of the comments of a number of people as members of the public talking to us about whether they agree there's a sex recession, but also what could be a top 10 song there about safe consider sex and condom use. Professor Carpenter, having heard this now and people talking about young people having sex, people feeling that young people are having sex, but data from anthropologists saying to us that that is not in fact accurate. What is it that we are then seeing? Are we seeing more sex being visible in life, but fewer sexual interactions happening with young people, or something else?
Well, we certainly do have a lot more information on sex. We do have a lot more variety of sources, especially online sources. And we're selling something, for instance, using a sexually provocative image, might have been saucy or racy 10, 20, 30 years ago. Today is quite normative. When you look at your page 2 in the newspaper, and I'm not going to say which newspaper, when you look at the photographs, the way people dress is much more provocative. That does not mean that they're having more sex. Oddly enough, we know from research that if you expose young people to accurate information about sex and sexuality, as they grow up, they actually delay sex and have sex later, that is in intercourse, and they are likely to be more careful about sexual participation. So we know that more information means more careful sex. That's actually research.
We know that, but we're also seeing that risk perception among young people remains low. And from the study that we have reported in The Observer, we're also seeing that they're using less condoms and they're putting less barriers in place as they do engage in sex. For those who are having sex now, what do you say to them as they try to figure out this information that they are now receiving, but perhaps not acting on it?
Yeah, I'm not sure that they're using condoms less, I'll be honest with you. And the reason I say this is simply because we have more people coming in to test does not mean that the larger population, yes, the ones who are not coming in to test, are using condoms less. We cannot correlate those two things. We can't say simply because we see an increase in reported cases, there are statistically and empirically more cases. It would be a wrong conclusion to draw.
All right.
Yes.
Well, Professor Carpenter, we had you inside Lead Story a couple days ago talking about a decline in fertility. Now the young people we're seeing, based on global statistics, but also born out here in Jamaica, are having less in real life sexual activity, using condoms though, as you said, and having more awareness of what to do. Broad picture then, what's the long-term implication of what it is that we're now seeing?
Well, the fact of the matter is that once we provide the services for young people to get tested, and once we have a wider range of tests, there was a time when if you went and did an HIV test, you only got HIV, and I believe it was syphilis at the time, or gonorrhea. Yes? You only got 2 tests. Now you have a thing called an STI panel, and you can get 9 different tests done on an STI panel. So we have increased our services as a country. We've increased the range of things that we test for, and also we've increased public information. It's widely available. So I wouldn't correlate the 2 things. The moving away from higher numbers of children being born is quite another phenomenon. I think, well, let me give you a statistic
Professor Carpenter, I think we're going to have more of this conversation. Perhaps we didn't understand how deep this was. Perhaps we just thought it was a prof would give us an overview, but clearly it is a much more in-depth conversation, and with your background and expertise, there's certainly a lot more that you see from your vantage point. So, since we keep calling you back and you keep coming back into Lead Story, we're going to have you again, Professor Carpenter, to talk to us about this, what correlation versus causation looks like here, and then what it is that we can do long term as we look at all of these things together. Professor Karen Carpenter, Professor of Gender, Sexuality and Psychology, thank you so very much for joining us inside Lead Story. All right, just before we take a break, the number we shared earlier for Superintendent Carey Duncan was incorrect. The correct number is, write this down, scratch out the other one, 876-830-4278. That's 876-830, work with me, 876-830-4278. We'll take a break and come back to you. Earthquake Awareness Week now ends. We'll talk about that next here inside Lead Story.
Montego Bay, we've been tested, but we are still standing. After Hurricane Melissa, our community is rising stronger than ever. The Kiwanis Club of Providence, Montego Bay Breast Cancer Awareness Run, Walk and Wheelchair has a new date, Sunday, January 18, 2026 at Fairview Office Park. Registration is now reopened and all previous registrations remain valid. Baby pickup is upstairs at Fresh Supermarket, Harbor City Mall, Thursday to Saturday, 2 to 6 p.m. Then join us on Sunday, January 18th. Together, we rise as we support the fighters, admire the survivors, and honor the taken. Visit KiwanisProvidenceMBJ.com.
Tune in to Lead Story, weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jodi-Ann Quarry.
Brought to you by VC's Electrical Sales. Quality products at affordable prices.
Awareness Week is coming to a close, but earthquakes don't wait for campaigns to end. There was a minor earthquake just last night. So tonight we're joined by Information Officer from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Zadie Neufeld, to speak to us about what Jamaicans should have learned this week and how prepared we really are for a major seismic event. Good evening, Zadie, and welcome to Lead Story.
Hi, good evening. I'm not a seismologist, just declaring myself up front, okay?
Don't worry. We're glad to have you with us. We're glad to have you with us inside Lead Story. We're now at almost the close of Earthquake Awareness Week. We have been pulling ODPEM into Lead Story to speak to us. So glad that you could come on today. At the end of this week, what do you want all Jamaicans to have learned? What are 3 big things you want us to all have learned from this work?
Good. So as you mentioned earlier, we had 2 shakes this week. We don't get warning. Earthquakes don't come and say, here, hello, like the storm we're watching all the time. So that is one of the first things. We have to be prepared all the time for that shake. And we don't know how big it's going to be either. It could be small, it could be big. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you must learn the drill. We've been going through the drills this week. So we are teaching our kids. We spend a lot of time in school today, teaching kids to duck, cover, and to hold on, because that is the best way to protect yourself. You have to protect your head. Okay? They also, we want you to pack your go bag, in the same way that you have your bags for the hurricane, you prepare your stuff, same thing. Same bag, same thing. Well, because you don't know when you're going to need to run.
You've spoken about getting a go bag, Zadie. This idea that you've packaged things beforehand. You know that some disaster will take place, whether it's a hurricane that you can track or an earthquake that pops up. But you want to be prepared. But talk to me about the average Jamaican household. How prepared are they at this time?
Well, I think because I'm just going to be, with Melissa. I think more Jamaicans are aware of the dangers of these events. It's just, it's a hurricane, but it reminds us that we have no control over natural events and that we must be prepared. I think that's a basic lesson, because we're out there and we're hearing from people. And that's what they're saying.
You are talking to people, they're saying that they're prepared, Zadie, but we're also a set of people. Zadie Newfell?
Hello?
Zadie, are you hearing me? No? You haven't lost us. We seem to be having challenges with all of our calls today as we talk to individuals on Lead Story.
Yes, I can hear you now.
You can hear me? Perfect. Glad to have you back with us. Where do Jamaicans overestimate their readiness? What is it that they think that they have down pat, like communication or going to a safe place, that you really would want them to work on some more? Zadie? All right. We are continuing to have this conversation with Zadie Newville as she talks to us about Earthquake Awareness Week 2026. And she said to us that we've had 2 minor shakes just this week. That is, the earthquake wouldn't even be sensible and wait until Earthquake Awareness Week passes. It is going to now be something that we keep on our minds always. We're certainly going to be watching and seeing what's going on as well. Earthquake Awareness Week is something that for many people, they feel it, they might not have to pay attention to, because some of the common earthquake myths are it won't happen here, or buildings are fine. And that's certainly something that many people believe, that Jamaica isn't a place that will have it. Zadie Newfo? All right.
Hello?
Hi, Zadie. Can you hear us now? We're continuing to then reassess our line with Zadie as she talks to us as information officer from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. But we would have been made aware that Jamaica sits on a fault line. And that means it's not a matter of if Jamaica will get an earthquake, it's when we'll get an earthquake. The last major earthquake is 1907, and all the buildings, informal housing and schools and hospitals are some of the places where Jamaica is most vulnerable. Now, we would have seen after Hurricane Melissa the devastation that affected all the buildings. Informal housing is incredibly vulnerable to anything at any point in time. But our schools and hospitals are part of what we've been watching over the past week. The reopening of schools, even if they've been reopened under tent environments, hospitals that we're now hearing from Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, that will have to be supplemented with tents that are on their way to Jamaica, means that we are in a situation where an earthquake impacting Jamaica is certainly something that none of us would ever ask for. But it is our job to be prepared. So, putting together water and some food and snacks, a toy for some children that you have nearby, diapers or wipes, and getting that together, keeping one in your car, keeping one at the front of your house for each member of your household is certainly something that will go a far way to keeping you safe, not only during an earthquake where you have to stop, cover, and hold. That is, you're going under something that is going to protect your head. That's something that Zadie will talk to us about. But you're going to want to as well teach everybody in your household to do so that when they are panicked, when they are concerned, they automatically do so. And that's what we want to leave you with tonight. Earthquake Awareness Week is almost at an end, but you must clearly be aware and alert all year round. Now, when you step back from tonight's stories, a pattern emerges. Healthcare workers say the line of safe care has been crossed, and they're certainly looking for that to be fixed. Families of missing children fear their cases may fade with public attention, and young people are withdrawing intimately and socially in ways we don't fully understand just yet. And at the end, we have looked and we see that we continue to treat disaster preparedness as an event, but not a practice. None of these are isolated failures. They are stress fractures in systems meant to protect human life, dignity, and future stability. The question is not whether warning signs exist. The question is whether we are willing to respond before crisis forces our hand. I'm Jodi-Ann Quarry, and on behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you for watching Lead Story. I hope you have a fantastic day and that you stay safe.